Netflix was founded before Google. What fact sounds fake at first but is actually real? The guy who sang Peanut Butter Jelly Time died in a police shootout. Also, his brother-in-law was there trying to talk him out of shooting himself. Do you know who that stepbrother was? Snoop Dogg. Ancient sailors believed that cats were magic and would often risk their own lives, even in an every-man-for-himself situation, to save a cat from a sinking ship. All ships had at least one ship's cat, as cats would eat the rats that have always plagued ships. The ship's cat would often be given a rank, and sailors would generally take excessively good care of their cats. Chickens are one of many species of birds that don't have penetrative genitalia. Read, cocks are cockless. The method of reproduction they use is commonly called a cloacal kiss, and you can think of it as chicken scissoring, because bumping holes is the grossest possible way to phrase chicken sex. Also, chickens are not a flightless species like lots of people think, and are generally totally capable of the short flight. When compasses were first used on ships, sailors were afraid of them because they thought it had evil powers. Compasses were stored in boxes called a binnacle. President Coolidge got sent a raccoon for Thanksgiving one year, but instead of eating it, he granted it a pardon because it was cute. A Russian luxury SUV manufacturer attempted and failed to use whale penis skin for their SUV interiors. The founders of Adidas, Adi Dassler, and Puma, Rudolf Dassler, are brothers. And their HQs are literally next door to each other in Germany. Lyrebird's limitations will seriously sound exactly like the thing they're trying to imitate. If they imitate a chainsaw, you will think it's a chainsaw. It sounds like a perfect recording. Every Canadian is allowed to get a free Canadian flag from the government. However, if you ordered a flag today, you would get it in about 110 years. The 10th President of the U.S., John Tyler, 1790 to 1862, has 2 living grandchildren. During World War II, the Polish army had a brown bear in their ranks. The bear was really helpful to the force, particularly for carrying heavy artillery. A common ingredient in chemotherapy is horse sperm, of course listed under some long medical term. I used to deliver 100-pound tubes of it to companies that make the drugs. You can fit all the planets in our solar system touching end to end between Earth and the Moon. The Nazis were the first ever people in modern history to start an anti-smoking and tobacco movement. Or being from Scotland, and finding out the national animal is the unicorn. Astronomer here. The coldest place we know of in the universe is actually on Earth. To explain further, the coldest places we know of that naturally occur in the universe are inside dark nebulae with little to no star formation, and thus no starlight to heat things up. The coldest one known so far is the Boomerang Nebula, where the temperature has been measured as low as 1 degree above absolute zero, minus 272 degrees Celsius or minus 458 degrees Fahrenheit. However, we regularly get below this temperature in labs on Earth. Specifically, absolute zero is at minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, or minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit, and labs on Earth regularly get to within a tenth or even 100th of a degree of that. Pretty cool. Here is no date between September 3, 1752 to September 13, 1752. Check out the September calendar of 1752. 11 days are missing in the calendar. This is due to the fact that we converted our calendar from Julian to Georgian calendar on 2nd of September 1752. In 1922, the American Association of State Highway Officials met to determine a standard design for stop signs, and that's where they decided on the color, yellow, because they thought that would grab drivers' attention. They'd also considered red, but there was no dye available at the time that wouldn't eventually fade. By 1954, sign makers had access to fade-resistant porcelain enamel, and could finally start making stop signs the red color recognized today. The yearly risk in the US of dying from a shark bite is around 1 in 250 million, and the yearly risk of dying from a vending machine accident is roughly 1 in 112 million. Therefore, vending machines are about twice as deadly as sharks. A bunch of pissed off Scots who hated the way England played rugby is why we have the quarterback position in American football. Male giraffes will headbutt a female in the bladder until she urinates, then it tastes the pee to help it determine whether or not the female is ovulating. There was a USA government program to communicate with dolphins while under the influence of LSD. One young female researcher actually used her hands to sexually pleasure a dolphin during that program. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the invention of the iPhone than the construction of the Great Pyramid. Or that 1980 was 40 years ago. During the Cold War, the USA had an idea to drop XL condoms labeled medium all over Russia to make them think they are more manly. It takes about 3 to 4 generations before your entire existence is completely forgotten, assuming you don't invent the cure for cancer or discover the fifth dimension or anything like that. The average density of the universe is 1 proton in 3 cubic meters and the average temperature is 2.73 Kelvin. The sun is so loud, if space was filled with air instead of being a vacuum, we'd be hearing screeching sun noises at 125 decibels at all times. That Neil deGrasse Tyson himself said that the theory that can't be disproved that scares him the most is that if you break down our reality to its smallest construct, it is found to be binary code. Which is the language that computers speak? This means that it is very possible that our entire reality is the product of a computer simulation. When large ships were first sailed through electrical storms, they would sometimes see a blue glow at the top of their mast. There was no lightning and they thought it meant they were cursed. Sprouts, broccoli, green/red/Savoy/Chinese cabbage, cauliflower, kale, kohlrabi, and bok choy are not of nature's design. All of them are cultivated by humans from the mustard plant. The entire modern biomedical industry is dependent on a fixed supply of horseshoe crab blood. T-Rex, 64 million years ago, is nearer to now in years than it is to Stegosaurus, 151 million years ago. Images depicting them fighting are very, very wrong. Hof QB Brett Favre's first career pass completion was to himself. NHL legend Wayne Gretzky was so dominant that if he would have never scored an NHL goal, his assist numbers would still have him as the all-time leader in points, goals plus assists. Ken Dryden, Montreal Canadiens' legendary goaltender, won a Conn Smythe Award, Best Player in the NHL Playoffs, before he won the Calder Trophy, Best NHL Rookie. If you throw 98 miles per hour in baseball, you are considered to have an elite fastball. Nolan Ryan's last pitch, at age 46, was 98 miles per hour. Shaq went 1-22 lifetime on 3-point shots. The last country to officially ban slavery was the African country of Chad, in 2017. The first country, city-state, to ban slavery was Athens, in 6 BC. You can be so physically fit that you can die as a result. Multiple elite endurance has died in their sleep because their resting heartbeat is so low, 24 to 35 BPM compared to an average 60 to 100 BPM, and their blood is so thick. The condition is particularly prevalent in cyclists and many have to wear heart rate monitors with alarms to wake them should their heart rate fall too low, at which point they have to perform an exercise to get their heart pumping at a sustainable rate once again. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams both died on July 4, 1826, 50 years to the day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Adams' last words were supposed, Jefferson lives. Tic Tacs candy advertisers call them sugar-free, but in actuality, they're 100% sugar. This is because US federal regulations state that if a single serving contains less than half a gram of sugar, it can call itself sugar-free. A single Tic Tac has less than half a gram of sugar, so manufacturers can legally say it contains 0 sugar. The US is the 3rd most populated country. If you add 1 billion people, it's still the 3rd most populated country. America kept bombing Japan after the nuclear bombs. My uncle Philip Guy was a pilot who made the last bombing run on Japan. Crazy to think that America was not totally confident that nuclear bombs would do it. It is unhealthy to have low cholesterol in your body. Cholesterol helps to fight disease as well as feeds the brain. It's been proven that older people with a higher cholesterol count are actually more healthy than those who are deficient. Personally, I thought it was the opposite for so long, only recently did I learn this. If you took all the ordinary matter, not dark matter/energy, in the entire visible universe and gathered it all together in one spot at the density of water, 1 gram per cubic centimeter, it would make a cube only 1.5 light years on each side. In all technicality, the last Roman emperor died in the 20th century, as the rulers of the Ottoman Empire took the title when they conquered Byzantium. Tomato sauce was sold in the 1800s as medicine and that a donkey will sink in quicksand, but a mule won't. There's a type of squid with a donut-shaped brain and its esophagus runs through the middle, so that means if they eat something too big they could get brain damage. Queen Elizabeth II served during World War II as an auto mechanic and driver. Most Brits would probably know that, but I don't think most others would. Aldous Huxley and C.S. Lewis died on the same day, but it barely made the news, because it was November 22, 1963, and JFK was assassinated that day. A murder victim was identified in Australia due to a shark vomiting the man's tattooed arm inside of an aquarium, witnessed by viewers. The shark had ingested the severed arm after it was thrown into the ocean and was subsequently caught by the owner of an aquarium and used shortly as an attraction until the grisly discovery. The shark was then killed and no other human remains were found within its stomach. The real killer was never caught. There are more water molecules in a glass of water than there are glasses of water in all the oceans on Earth. Chili peppers originated in the Americas. Before Columbus, there was no spicy food anywhere else in the world. Also, no tomatoes in Italy, no potatoes in Ireland, and the list go on. The sound of a whip cracking is the sound of it breaking the speed barrier. I was sure this was bullshit when I first heard it and that it must just be the sound of the leather hitting itself or something. On average, Mercury is the closest planet to Earth. The same fact also applies if you switch out Earth for any other planet in the solar system. If air suddenly filled the vacuum between Earth and the Sun, it would take more than a decade for the sound of the Sun to reach us. That raisins used to be grapes. Yes, I told someone, can you believe there are some people in the world that don't believe raisins used to be grapes? She thought I was joking. Germany very nearly won World War II in 1941 and again in 1942. Clint Malarchuk is a former NHL hockey goalie who once took a skate sliced to the throat and lived. A series of 7.5 to 8.0 earthquakes occurred during the winter of 1811-12 in southeast Missouri, the largest of which rang church bells in Boston and briefly caused the Mississippi River to flow in reverse. The USA almost managed to wipe out all life forms of the Earth with the Project Starfish Prime. For short, they nuked the magnetic field to see what would happen. If the explosion was stronger, the shield would have been down long enough for the solar wind to destroy life and blow away the atmosphere. The results of a lot of quantum mechanics experiments. Also special and general relativity. Clocks run faster on airplanes? Does one photon interfere with itself? So much crazy stuff in there. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.